Good afternoon and welcome to the District of Sechelt Committee of the Whole agenda meeting for Wednesday, March the 11th, 2026. And it's my pleasure to begin with the land acknowledgement. The District of Sechelt is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Sechelt Nation. We respect the histories, language, and culture of the people of the Sechelt Nation, whose presence continues to enrich this community. And I'd like to also take this time now to congratulate the new HEWAS, new chief and council, the incoming council, and we look forward to working with them and continuing our relationship. And I'd also like to say thank you to the outgoing council, who we've had a tremendous working relationship with, and we look forward to continuing this great relationship with our neighbors. I'm going to call to order now and just see if there's any declaration of conflict. Seeing none. Adoption of the agenda. Yes, thank you. Second and first and second. We're good. Thank you. All right, now we'll get right into the declarations, delegations, and proclamations. Our first proclamation, I'm going to turn over to the Mayor of Sechelt, John Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. This is one of the more challenging proclamations because en français is certainly not my first, probably not my second tongue, but it is my pleasure, first of all, to introduce Jacques Defraise, who's representing School District 93. And Monsieur, it's my honor. Let's see, je proclame le mois de mars 2026 comme mois de francophonie dans le district de Sechelt. So I proclaim the month of March 2026 as the month of mois de francophonie in the district of Sechelt. And sir, if you'd like to come and you have a few remarks for us, and I'll give you this as well. Merci.
Oh. Bonjour, Monsieur le maire Anderson, mesdames et messieurs les conseillers municipaux, il y avait des élèves et aussi des invités derrière. C'est un plaisir d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui pour célébrer le mois de la francophonie. Good afternoon, Mayor Anderson, members of council, students, and guests. It is a pleasure to be with you today to celebrate Francophone Month. Thank you for welcoming us. Like you said, my name is Jacques Dufresne. I am the elected school trustee. So I'm like you, I'm elected for the South Coast region of the Conseil scolaire francophone de la Colombie-Britannique. CSF is called District 93. This is the province only French language public school board. So I represent 5 regions: North Vancouver, Sechelt, Pemberton, Whistler, Squamish. So for nearly 30 years, CSF, Conseil scolaire francophone, has been serving francophone communities across British Columbia with schools in more than 40 communities from one end of the province to the other. But today, I would like to speak about one community in particular, yours. Here on the Sunshine Coast, francophone families are served by École du Pacifique, the French language school located here in Sechelt. This is our 26th year. Today, around 100 students attend the school from kindergarten through secondary levels. It is a place where francophone families come together, where children learn and grow in French, where young people discover that being francophone here in Sechelt is something to celebrate and to be proud of. What makes École du Pacifique special is not only the quality of education offered there, but the community that surrounds it. The parents who are involved and committed, who believe deeply in the importance of the French language education for their children. Of course, the teachers, the staff who worked every day to create a welcoming and nurturing environment where students feel supported and inspired. And of course, the students. You've seen them today, whose curiosity, creativity, and enthusiasm bring life to school and to the Francophone community of the region. The Francophone community of the Sunshine Coast continues to grow, and with that growth comes, there's an S, with opportunity. In recent years, an important step was taken toward the future French language education in Seychelles with the acquisition of a site that will eventually allow the construction of a permanent school facility for École du Pacifique. I think there will be, I know there's talks between CSF and the council and the district, and you had votes already on it, and there will be a vote in the coming months. This represents an important milestone for the Francophone families in the region and reflects the vitality and long-term presence of the Francophone community here on the Sunshine Coast. Moments like today's proclamation are more meaningful than it may appear, or you might think. When a community recognizes its Francophone residents, when the French language is celebrated in places like this council chamber, it sends a powerful message to our students that their language, their culture, and their identity have a place here in Seychelles. To Mayor Anderson and to the member of the council, thank you for opening your heart, your doors to us today, and for recognizing that the Francophone community as part of this rich cultural fabric of Seychelles. Your support helps our students feel seen and valued, and it reminds Francophone families that they belong here. Merci du fond du cœur pour votre accueil. Bonne journée à tous et à toutes. Thank you. Merci.
Wow. Well, that was beautiful. I could just listen to you speak all day.
Wow.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure. I'm sure I'm speaking for all of us to be able to proclaim this week for you. And you are very much a part of this community, and we're very happy that you are. So thank you for
again.
being
Thanks.
here.
Thanks.
All right, great. Okay, and now we'll move on to our next business item, 4.2, and that is called Enhancing Housing on the Sunshine Coast. It's my pleasure to introduce Kelly Foley, who is our Sunshine Coast Regional Housing Coordinator for Cover the Coast, and Kim Darwin, who is the President of the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society. Please come up to the mic for your presentation. I think to have wanted the hardest working women on the Sunshine Coast, I must say.
Thanks so much. Kelly will have some slides in a minute, so while I'm having my little brief thing, we'll maybe get those geared up. What I thought I would do is just give a really high level of what we do for anybody that might not know. So you might hear the word SCAWS, meaning Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society. So we are a nonprofit that's led by a board of directors of all volunteers. There's been approximately 8 of us for the last couple of years, and we also have a charitable arm to support our fundraising. So what do? We build affordable housing by basically borrowing money, beg borrowing and stealing money. We've done that in Gibson so far. We have 3 buildings that we've done. One on Franklin Road, which is a 3-unit building that blends right into the neighborhood. And then we built a 40-unit apartment building on the corner of Shaw and O'Shea. There's studio suites, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. It's a mixed income model, so not segregated housing. And basically you'd have maybe like one bedroom units that would have 3 different price units for a variety of income earners. We are just about to wrap up our 3rd building, which is a 33-unit apartment building, also on the corner of O'Shea and Shaw, that will also have a childcare facility in the lower floor. Again, studio suites, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. And we have 9 accessible units in our 1st building and 7 accessible units for people in our community that require that. And we're hoping to be helping Seychelles also with the Lighthouse Avenue project that we've been supporting and giving some advice on. We won't be building that, but we will guide you guys along the way with the tips and tricks that we've learned with the buildings that we've done in Gibsons. And all of our buildings are built on Town of Gibson's land that is leased for 99 years. So Again, we're hoping to be able to do the lighthouse project with the District of Sechelt here. And what we also do is we support Kelly's role through Cover the Coast, which is funded through the short-term rental funds that flow through the Sunshine Coast Regional District. And that's the only ongoing funding that we actually do get. And you're going to hear from Kelly about how she absolutely amplifies the funds that we get by applying for grants in order to do studies so that we know exactly what's going on the Sunshine Coast. So I think I'll hand it over to you, Kelly, to tell all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Thank you, Kim.
Can you pass the clicker? Thank you, Kim. And I just have to say, like, a huge kudos to her organization, my organization, who is volunteer driven. It's pretty amazing the amount of work they've done over the last few years under those dedicated and passionate volunteers. So big kudos there. So I'm gonna try to go quick here. It's a lot, but it definitely there are themes in terms of the work I'm doing. So basically, I'm just going to walk you through what the initiatives are this year for the work that I'm undertaking. So the priority areas haven't changed. We learned this through the social and housing needs assessment, seniors housing and supports, housing for working age adults and families, and prevention and pathways out of homelessness. So those are my three kind of core lens, if you like, for the work that I do. So I'm going to start with land development and community housing. Here we go. Whoop. We just completed our regional land use study, and this is really important because I'm sure you all recognize that land is one of the biggest barriers to developing housing in our community. So essentially what we did is we did an inventory of all land on the Sunshine Coast that is owned by nonprofits, faith-based organizations, or government and all levels of government. And then we assessed it, and we assessed it based on looking at sort of suitability, so proximity measures, how close is it to transit or services or healthcare. But more importantly, we assessed it on its development potential so that we were really reticent about identifying land that can be developed without major barriers. So we have the list now, and that's with a lot of support from staff from the District of Sechelt, the Town of Gibsons, and the Regional District. So the next phase for this is engaging with those landowners. And I've started this process of reaching out to those organizations to really understand like what their vision is for their land over the next several years. And if there's an opportunity to work together to consider redeveloping their land for housing. And then the next step would be supporting them in those processes. So the pre-development processes, which are really challenging for a lot of nonprofit organizations. The other sort of big, I guess, strategic area for in terms of this is small scale multi-unit housing. And I'm talking about converting houses so that we have a secondary suite or a caregiver suite with a garden suite in the backyard, or cluster housing with a shared social space. So as a first step, we've developed this. This has just gone live, and it's on the Affordable Housing Society's website. We call it the Housing Solutions Hub. Essentially, it's a place where citizens can go, or small builders can go and find information, find resources, find the research that we've done, opportunities for funding, all of that type of material that's really valuable in those early days of development in particular. There's a couple of areas there that are to be done, and kind of segues into my next slide. In June, we are starting this project where I'm bringing together all of the expertise in the community around small-scale multi-unit housing development. And so that is working closely with, again, with staff, with the District of Sechelt, with builders, with accessibility experts, energy experts, financial experts, including Vancity and the credit union, to come together and figure this out, essentially. How do we do this? How do we mitigate or remove barriers, if possible? And how do we optimize the building and design processes? And at the end of the day, what will come out of this is a playbook for development that is user-friendly for the average person. And it's an opportunity to get them on board. We have a lot of houses in our community, a lot of single attached houses that have this opportunity, and there's not a lot of uptick. And there's multiple reasons for that. And this is one of the strategies to encourage an increased uptick around converting housing in our community, starting in June. Supporting the nonprofit sector, so that's working with organizations like the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society, helping them in terms of building their capacity for the great work they're doing. So currently we have 332 units that are nonprofit housing in our community, with another 189 underway, which is pretty remarkable. And a lot of that's happened over the last few years, not because of me, but because of these incredible volunteers. And finally, in this category is really trying to support the development of assisted living and long-term care, what we would call a graduated care model. So that's a model that allows people to stay in the same community as they age. What the work that's been underway here is research. We did quite a large initiative last year where we did outreach in the community to seniors. We had a survey. We had almost 300 respondents complete that survey to really understand what the needs are for seniors in our community. Coupled with that, I've done a lot of market analysis projections in terms of understanding population growth in our community. Our plus 75 is on a steep incline, plus 65 is leveling out, but plus 75 is growing fast, and that is the age where people need the most support. So I've coupled that with the sort of best practices in terms of number of units that are needed for long-term care and assisted living in our community based on age. So I have a lot of data. I'm combining that to put together essentially a business case that I can share with housing providers and encourage the development of this type of housing in our community, both private sector and nonprofit sector. All right, so rental supports and incentives. This essentially relates to how do we unlock the housing that we already have in our community. A lot of people have secondary suites or garden suites, and they're reticent to rent them out because of risk. And so there's a couple of programs that we're running to try to mitigate those risks and unlock that inventory. The first is the Essential Service Workers Registry. That's been up for about 4 years. It's doing pretty good. We probably have about 15 to 20 units posted per month. Our challenge is that we normally have about 4 or 5 essential service workers looking for housing. So there's a bit of a mismatch between demand and supply. And the cost of housing often is higher than people can afford to pay. But it is definitely serving a need, and I hear constantly from essential service workers that are using it. So it's working. This other program is trying to build on that work. And essentially, it's trying to figure a way to provide housing for low-income seniors, so seniors on fixed incomes. And the idea here is to create an opportunity for landlords to be able to, I'm just going to say the opportunity is the wrong word, to encourage landlords to provide this type of housing. And really, it's a puzzle because we need to mitigate the risk for the landlords in order to make this successful and provide incentives for them to do it. And so that's the crux of this initiative, is how do we mitigate those risks and how do we provide those incentives? This program is actually going to be combined with another initiative that has funding associated with it and an outreach worker. So the funding provides top-up rents and supports for landlords, and the outreach worker is there to support the tenant and mediate any concerns with the landlord. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. Supporting seniors aging in place, this is really critical, particularly because we don't have the assisted living and long-term care in our community to adequately support seniors currently. We learned through our survey that at least half our respondents live by themselves. And a really troubling number, 39% of our respondents do not have a close friend or family member that they can reach out to if they need support. So it just highlights the importance of this work. So our strategy here, the first one is creating seniors community hubs. I talked to you guys about this last year at the beginning, using the NORC model, which is a naturally occurring retirement community, a neighborhood or a building where there's a high density of seniors already. And the idea is you work with that community, you create a leadership group that organizes regular gatherings that connects seniors to each other and then connects them to services. So we've done this successfully at the Watermark now for a year. They've been meeting regularly every 6 weeks, and they've been connected to like RCMP, Vancouver Coastal Health, Division of Family Practice, local paramedic, and a whole host of other community organizations who have really stepped up to support this model, and it's been really, really successful. So I've applied for funding to expand it to Green Court and to a local trailer park. This kind of segues to it because with the trailer park, what we are hearing from frontline workers is that seniors living in RVs are often living in really unsafe conditions. The RV just desperately needs repairs and they don't have the funding to do that. So this program is to connect those seniors through this NORC, through this community hub, with tradespeople. And so the work here is developing and connecting to volunteer tradespeople, probably retired tradespeople. There's an organization called the Men's Shed in Canada that brings men together to do this kind of work. And it's a lot about community and connection, and sort of the side piece is doing all this sort of fixer-upper type work. So this project will marry, once we've developed the NORC in an RV trailer park, the next step would be to start connecting those folks to volunteer tradespeople to help them upgrade their RVs. And then finally, for this section, aging in place, I've been working with leadership in Vancouver Coastal Health and other organizations, both private sector and nonprofit, to bring, with the idea of bringing them together to review the research that we've done and to identify an action plan of how we can better support our seniors aging in place in the community. And that's going to happen in the fall. Prevention and pathways out of homelessness. We all know this is a huge priority for our community. Sorry, my ticker. There we go. So one of the programs that we oversee is called the Situation Table. Essentially, this is an integrated approach. It's quite innovative. The idea is to bring together frontline workers across the spectrum. So RCMP, Vancouver Coastal Health, social workers, people in housing, to come together, and they meet every 2 weeks around a specific person. And so there will be a person that is identified in the community that's at high risk. And it's an opportunity for these professionals to be able to sit together and collaborate on the best way to support this individual. And that's been underway since October. Treatment and recovery housing. Brendan and I have been working on this for 3 years, probably 2 years. with an organization called Together We Can. I actually met with them this morning. They are a really a reputable organization that have multiple recovery houses throughout the Lower Mainland and in Powell River. The one in Powell River is called Miklat. They are ready to come, and they are. It's been a long dance, and is working with nonprofits, as we all know. It just takes longer because they're short-staffed and they're struggling financially and everything else. But anyway, they're wanting to buy a house and to start the process of developing first stage recovery housing in our community. They've requested that I coordinate a roundtable in April, so the 3rd or 4th week of April, I believe, to bring community leaders together to start the conversation on what this process would look like and what they would need from us to make it successful. Whoop. And this is finally, this relates to second stage housing, which is a huge priority for our community. This is sober housing for people who have either gone through recovery or are ready to leave supportive housing. It could even be people in the community that are really at risk of homelessness. I recently applied for funding on behalf of the town of Gibsons for this program, and we won. We just found out we got the money. And it's yearly. So once you're in the system, you're in the system. So it's a huge win for the community. It's a regional program. It comes with money for an outreach coordinator who would work with those folks to get them housed, and that's going to marry with that other program I talked about, which is coordinating with landlords. It also provides rent top-ups, placement costs just for getting people well settled into their home. And as I said, it comes with an outreach person that is there to make certain that that person is supported. The other beautiful piece about this project is it really is a great example of our community and how different community organizations can come together to provide a solution. I had 13 letters of support, including from Open Door Group, from Community Services, Vancouver Coastal Health, Resource Center, both provincial, federal government, and with the local organizations, a commitment to provide wraparound services for those folks who are living in those houses, and supporting them in becoming more financially sustainable. So I'm very excited about this one moving ahead. So I think that's it for me.
So I'm sure most of you know that Kelly's role came out of the entire community coming together and saying, how do we solve the problems in our community? And the Housing Action Table was formed, and then Kelly was chosen to be the person to sort of facilitate these things. And I have to say, she has knocked it out of the park.
Well, I think that does deserve a round of applause. I know you don't always enjoy that, Kelly, but you certainly, I'm just going to say on behalf of all of us, what a tremendous job you did. And congratulations on the Reaching Home grant. It is just going to be a game changer. And I know it's a real challenge to get grants these days. So you are a tenacious one, and we really appreciate that. And we appreciate all your hard work. So I just want to turn it over to council and see if you have any questions before we let you go.
I'll save most of them for work because they're kind of related to some of the programs to my work. But what was the name of the trailer park you mentioned? I didn't catch that.
I can't remember the name. Chloe Delaney is picking it out for me because I'm going to work with her directly. For some reason, I think it has Cedar in the name.
Okay.
Cedar Creek?
Was there ongoing funding for the situation table?
Yes. Well, funding we have 3 years worth of, we have 3 years worth of funding.
Okay. So back to the sober housing, the outreach worker then, so that they would basically work for the town of Gibsons, like they're outreach worker?
The reason it's the town of Gibson's is because they have the Everybody Deserves a Home program, which is already doing similar work. And so it was able to build on that.
top of
And so Chantel, who runs that program, would be doing the work. Well, she
I
would
see.
hire a person to support her, but yes.
Okay, and so, as you well know, the District of Sechelt is not rich in our land dowry. But if a ferry came along today and dropped a piece of land in downtown Sechelt, outside of long-term care, putting you on the spot, workforce versus seniors versus, what do you think the top?
Downtown Sechelt?
Yeah,
It's competing between workforce housing and seniors housing, I would say.
yeah,
Probably, I would say workforce housing, because what I'm hearing again and again throughout the community is the shortage of care aides, the shortage of childcare workers that really are essential for the support of seniors and the support of other community members, so.
So when we say workforce housing, do we make an assumption that there's a subsidy within that, or is it market rental? Because a lot of the workforce, as you know, that we need barely make a minimum wage, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want to be clear when we talk about workforce.
So essentially, all of our buildings are workforce housing with seniors. In fact, I think 10% of our buildings have seniors in them. And I think part of our lease required us to have 10% of seniors being 62 years or greater. But the mixed income model is how we actually navigate what you're talking about, where we have 65% MMR, 79% MMR, and 87% MMR. So that mixed. And the way that people qualify is we make sure that their rent, so we set the rents for the units, and then we make sure that their income is no greater than, and we chose 35% because of inflation and how expensive things were. No more than 35% of their income can go toward their shelter cost.
Okay. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Any other questions? All right. Now, with that, thank you so much for your presentation and again, for everything that you do for the community. We really appreciate it. All right, moving to our next, to business items, 5.1. We have the official community plan update, touch point committee terms of reference. And who will be speaking to this? Very good.
Thank you. As I reported on the OCP progress late last year and identified a plan that we can do for the remainder of this term, we have a number of smaller engagement opportunities happening, some pop-up events around town, some focused meetings that might be held virtually, but also establishing a group of folks who want to donate their time to work with us on future initiatives to kickstart the real meat and potatoes of the OCP. And so because we're just looking at 2026 this year within our collective timeframe, we're really looking at 3 meetings right now. So why we came up with the term Touchpoint Committee, it's just a little bit more transitory, less formal than an advisory committee, because we come up with 3 meetings for this year. We've identified the topics that we'd like to discuss at those meetings. We want to find some people, make connections, keep them in the fold, and then as we develop a transition plan for into next year, next council term, we still have folks, hopefully, with us available to provide insight, advisement for the future of Sechelt. So at this point, we propose the 3 meetings, and they're described in the report. We're looking to do open advertisement, print media, social media, perhaps invites, perhaps ask Kelly and Kim, for example, on some suggestions of who they know who has particular expertise in areas, and really establish a bit of a group, have some meetings, have some discussions, kick off this next step of our official community plan engagement. So because we have terms of reference, wanted to show that to council, seek endorsement for this plan as a whole. We'll go back and advertise for members, much like an APC or other type of committees. We'll come back to council at some point with recommendations or the volunteers that we have in front of us. And so seek council support for this plan, and of course, available to answer any questions on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to make a motion? Okay, Councillor Shepherd, discussion? Oh, second, excuse me, Councillor Rowe. And we have a second, Councillor Rowe, and discussion. Oh, Mayor?
Yep, thank you, Chair. I was looking through this and I think the spirit of it is great. It'll allow us to focus on this specific thing for the next 3 meetings or this current term. I did notice there was a suggestion that the chair of the committee be staff. I think that's not the best way to go with, when you got a group of public people. I think it should, one of them should be a little like the advisory planning committee, that they would elect their chair from among them. I think what's important to keep a separation between the staff function and the public function. So that is one thing that I picked up on and would suggest that that be changed.
Now, do you wish to speak to that, or is that noted at this point?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's noted. I think when writing that, I envisioned more like a host role than anything, because it's not so much like calling for votes, but our hope here simply is to advance this project, serve council's needs, and if that's the preference, then by all means, that's fine.
Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Chair. I'm fine with it being, staff led. I like the term host, actually. I mean, if we're only talking about maybe 3 meetings, if somebody you really need somebody who can step in and start facilitating right in meeting 1. You don't really have time to learn and figure out how to chair a meeting and things like that. So I'm fine with that perspective. The one thing I recognize, and maybe this is more a comment than a need for a specific terms of reference change, is we do reference in here 7 to 15 members of the public. I'm just trying to find the exact wording, and I'm sorry it's escaping me now, but do we as council feel that we should be naming specific groups or anything like that we're seeking specific representation from? Or are we comfortable choosing those people through the selection process? I'm thinking specifically making sure that we've got, 2 or 3 members representative of community associations, for example. The Affordable Housing Society, just my own thoughts. I think I'm happy to do it at the selection phase. I just want to sort of hear what other folks' thoughts are on it. Thanks.
Other comments? Councillor Shepherd?
Yeah, I just to Councillor Toss, sorry, through the chair, to Councillor Toss' suggestion, I would guess that the planning department know who the sort of relevant groups are. I'm sure the staff know that the community associations will be following this pretty closely and will want to be represented. So I don't know, I feel comfortable with letting staff drive the process to the selection and wait to hear the results of the report. Thanks.
Any other comments? I think those comments are noted. And thank you very much for this report. And we wish you the very best with this process. I am. So we've got 2 motions, first and second motion on the table. All in favor? Passed. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have item number 6, governance and priorities. 6.1, Council Procedure Bylaw Amendment number 56805, 2026. And who would like to speak to this? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there are quite a few changes proposed for the procedure bylaw. We've outlined some of the highlights in the staff report, just going into a little bit more detail on the reasoning behind those. We've also attached the marked up version of the consolidated bylaw, so it's clear where every single change has been made. And then the attached draft amendment is also there for council's consideration. So our hope here today is to answer any questions that council may have, and if further information and discussion needs to come back, we can either bring that back to another committee meeting or bring it forward to a regular meeting for consideration of readings.
So we do have recommendations on the table, and would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Shepherd?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and Councillor Toth, good, thank you. All right.
Thanks through the chair. I want, so just to clarify in my own mind, if I could ask staff.
Yes.
So these suggested changes are flowing through from George Cuff and the mediator. And have they been passed through our legal advisor? I thought there were other changes that our legal counsel were going to suggest. Just
Thank you for the question through the chair. The ones from the legal were also considered, but I'm happy to hear more about any specific ones. We were looking at changes to the code of conduct as well with legal, so that could be perhaps what you're thinking of. But yes, we worked with our municipal advisor, Ron Poole, on all of these changes, and then our corporate officer and deputy corporate officer put them into a fulsome report.
thanks, Chair. I was confusing the code of conduct with the procedure bylaw. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Great question. Okay, any other questions? Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. This is a lot. I guess I'm curious, some of it is procedure, administrative and clerical and stuff, which I certainly have certainly support. But it's curious that this is coming now because we're essentially bringing something quite significant in which binds future councils. And I would have thought this is the sort of thing that would come to us at the beginning of a term rather than at the end of a current term. So I'm not opposed to it. I think there's a great amount of detail in here, and I'm not sure that, well, I would support us taking some time to ponder this. I note the recommendation is to bring it back next week. And I'm wondering if council has really had a chance to go through all of the items. I did, but frankly, I'd like some more time to really digest the impact. So, so I'm not in favor of us. The motion includes the recommendation that it come back to for 3 readings next week. I think that's ambitious, and so for that reason, I wouldn't be supporting this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Through you to Mayor Henderson, would you like to suggest, were you suggesting a new date? I don't disagree that it's a lot, but there's enough term left yet. If I wanted to, and I could have a baby. So I think we can. I'm trying to be funny. It's a long day. There's 9 months left. That's been my, anyways. So I'm wondering if you're suggesting a new date?
Yes, I hadn't given thought to the precision, but I have to observe that I think there's 8 months left in our term, so, yeah. But that, moving, far be it from me to give you medical advice, Councillor Rowe.
So do we have them
So,
on the floor then?
well, okay, I would be, sure, I think I'd just like council to have a couple of extra weeks. So sure, whatever that makes it into April, early April.
Can we have a date? Can I have an assistance with staff on this, please?
April 1st will be the
Okay,
next
that's
meeting.
fine. Thank you. April 1st. Okay, That's the amendment. Have you, do you have the amendment? We're good. Staff would bring council procedure bylaw amendment number 56805 for consideration of 3 readings to the April 1st regular council meeting.
I've heard
So,
that. Thank
yeah,
you. I
so
haven't
I'll
heard a
take that
second.
motion as an amendment to
Okay,
this motion.
thank you. Okay, good.
That's my motion.
Need a second.
Yeah, we need a seconder for that, please. Councillor Shepherd? Excellent. All right.
Discussion on the amendment?
Yep. Any other discussions on the amendment? So we have, pardon me? Yeah, we're doing that. So we have first and second, and all in favor? Great. All recommendations, first, what do you want?
Sorry,
first?
I just want to, one clarifying thing to the corporate officer. And I'm sure this is just a typo. I just want to make sure because it would change the intention. So 27.3. It says a council, the report. I just want to confirm that that would be at council, the report, as opposed to a council member would something or other. Oh, sorry, it's on page 61, 27.3. It's referencing the notice of motion, so I assume it's at council.
I think there's a, I think the word "the" is superfluous.
Yes,
We're still
exactly.
Speaking about the amendment here?
We're speaking about the marked up version of the bylaw.
Okay.
And yes, this is speaking to the motion that's on the floor, which is the main motion with the amendment incorporated. So 27.3, you're correct, Councillor. It should read a council report with the proposed motion.
Okay.
And
Oh,
there's an
yeah, I
extra
see.
the.
Great, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
It's a perfect
Sorry,
example of.
Okay, so we'll take a vote again with
Sorry,
the
I've got,
amendment.
I've got another question, please. I wanted to clarify, and this is why I'm hoping that we can all take some more time to delve into this. Page 36, the proposal is that our counselor reports be submitted in writing. I struggle with that from a procedural point of view because I think most of us want to, and I think the general nature of these council reports are, what have we done in the last week? So to submit them in writing presumably means submitting them several days in advance. So that changes what we would be presenting. Wanting to, I guess, flag that for council and make sure that's really what we are intending, what we would like as in terms of what our council reports.
Okay, further discussion? Comments? Mayor, Councillor Shepherd?
Yeah, through the chair, that would certainly cut down on the length of the reports that come to council if it was all done in writing. I did note that, and I guess I was willing to move along with it because I think they'll make the reports much briefer. Thanks.
Councillor Toth?
Thank you. I'm hoping somebody can help me out here because it was referenced the page number in the report, but I can't actually find the page number in the bylaw that references
Yeah.
council reports. And so that's the staff report, isn't it? There's reports from committees.
Can we have some assistance? Do we know what?
It may not have been identified in the past. It was just a notice on the agenda roll. The intent behind this was to get people to put a more concise report together and to answer the mayor's question. The intent was never to, for you to read us your diary of the last 2 weeks. The intent was anything that was pertinent to the district that you attended, where you could give us some information from whatever you attended that might pertain to us, would be the purpose of the report. Not a, what have you been to lately?
Thank you. Comments? Councillor Inster.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was the only thing I actually flagged in here. And I guess we have a few weeks to consider it, whether we bring some changes and or some changes to that particular one. The only thing that I would consider, not the only thing that I would consider, the thing that I wonder about is whether we should not have council reports 60 days prior to a civic election. You know, that's what I wonder about. We used to, the last 20 years, I've never seen so much politicking in Sechelt than I have seen the last 20 years. It's such a change. I guess it's the nature of our society nowadays. So I would love to discuss that piece. And I'm not sure about the rest in terms of written information. I know what the CEO is talking about pertinent details, that maybe that should be contained in the bylaw, that it should be pertinent to the DOS. And like I said, it's changed over the last few years. I remember the council I was on 2014 to 18, I would try to stick on district stuff. And we had a couple of councillors that would talk about soccer and baseball and stuff like that. So it just started to meander. So I think if we just clearly define it and still maybe look at some verbal considerations, unless we want to create something more substantive for council information in the agenda. But that then means, though, that, Chair, that we have to be prepared to provide a written report. I'm assuming 9 days. Is it 9 days or is it? No, it would be probably 7 days, 7 to 8 days before the presentation of that material, 2 to 3 days before the agenda goes out, so that it's properly vetted, and I guess in a sense. So I hope if we do go to the written piece, that we're that organized. And we'll always be a few weeks behind with information as well. So I hope if we do go to that format of written, that the information that we agree not to do verbally is pertinent and or not timely when we talk about verbal information to the DOS and to our council and to the citizens. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Just a comment, really not any questions for anybody. Last term, I was providing a written SCRD report, and staff were quite gracious in that they would accept it basically up until noon on Friday, the day the agenda was being published. And so really it's only 4 or 5 days old by the time the meeting rolls around. And so I think, you know, assuming staff are okay receiving that many written reports, I don't think the process needs to be particularly onerous if we're going to submit something in writing. So those are just my thoughts. Thanks.
Gonna need some help. I hear 3 things here, at least questions. I heard something around 60 days prior. Should we be doing submission of reports? I also heard about a submission date, and when would that submission date be to submit into the District of Sechelt from the councillor? And I also heard that we want to have more comprehensive reports in writing. So how do we introduce these, or how do we move forward? Thank you.
It sounds like council is considering changes to the draft that's been proposed by staff. So my suggestion would be, let me get my cameras sorted. My suggestion would be to complete the vote on the main motion, and then we can consider other motions from council that are going to change the draft. That will provide staff with direction to bring the revised draft forward when it comes back in April.
Okay, so going back to the original recommendations, all right, on page 34. So we'll go back and do we need a first and seconder again on these? No.
No, it's already on the floor.
Okay, it's already on the floor, so all in favor with the amendment, correct? Yes. Okay, passed. And now you want us to go through and do a motion on each one of the changes, or how do we proceed with that?
However is easiest for council. It seems that one by one will probably make the most sense at this point.
Okay, so would you like to do those motions? Mr. You had a couple of them there, if you want to.
Yeah.
present those, the 60 days.
Yes, thanks,
Thank you.
Chair. As with many things, I put those out there. I know that they will come to us on April 1 now. That will give me some time to consider those particular pieces. And at that point, if it's acceptable through you, Chair, obviously, and council and to the corporate officer, that would be a way to amend the document at that time, give some consideration to that. But I think there's some strong arguments for 60 days previous. I'm not sure if there's a strong enough argument to go to all written and not verbal. There was some examples of places that don't necessarily do verbal, but there are lots of examples in BC of those that do verbal reports. We just have to be very clear as to what the definition of that is. And like I said, I've seen all kinds of things about soccer and baseball and things like that. So specific to the district, I just think there's some value in having information presented to council that happened in the day or two before council. So I can wait till the first, Chair, to talk about those changes.
Corporate officer, is that fine? Okay, so we don't need to do anything for this.
I did hear some other potential changes discussed, so if council would like to continue that
Okay.
discussion, they are welcome to.
Okay, so we had the 60-day one, which was Councillor Inkster's. The comprehensive report was, that was just part of the regular motion. That was from the CAO. How do we proceed with that? Councillor Rowe?
I was just going to suggest to the chair that if council has any further amendments that they want to add, to clarify now.
Okay. Okay, is that it? Do we have? Okay, yeah, thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Thanks. Through the chair, this is not a proposed motion. It's actually a question again on that, the issue of submitting written reports. Can I just ask through the chair to staff, is that something that's typically happens at other municipalities? Is that what they found while doing the canvassing for these changes? Thanks.
The staff report lists some examples from different municipalities where some do verbal, some do written, some don't do any councillor reports at all. They allow all of their updates to come through a committee of some sort or some other venue. So to respond to the logistical question about timing of submissions, if the reports were to be written, we can certainly accept them on agenda production day. However, we can't guarantee thorough proofreading services for that situation.
And I just want to comment that what I heard from our CAO is that these are important to staff in the District of Sechelt in terms of what we're doing, and it's helpful for you in terms of having a little more detail. This is what I heard. So I don't want to lose sight of that in terms of that ask. So do we need to discuss this further? So can we move forward with the amendment to say that we will add written reports then to as part of the process? Can you help me with that amendment, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
So the draft amendment, the bylaw amendment currently includes written reports.
Mhm.
So if there's no motions, that will come forward on April 1st for consideration of readings.
Okay, so, good. Is there any other ones that I have missed? That I know
Thank you.
had?
If I could, I agree with our corporate officer's comment. I think you can, perhaps staff can take the overall tenor of what we're discussing of, okay, what does that really mean? How do we, when do we submit and stuff? And perhaps anticipate questions coming back and maybe address them before April 1st. The other thing, if I may, is I'd like to understand the distinction. There's a sort of a new thing added in here for the consent agenda, and it's at the end of the sequence. I'm looking at page 51
Page 51.
of our package. And I would think in other boards, that has actually often been done at the beginning of the meeting where there's various items that are on the agenda and you say, all right, these are before us, and who would like to pull something out for discussion? Otherwise, they're taken as presented. So I found it interesting, and hence my question of why is that listed as item 11 on the, essentially the last, almost the last item in the agenda order.
Okay, so this is just for clarification, page 51, and it is number 11, consent agenda. Is that the one you're?
Yes.
Okay. And your question is, can I ask you to, someone to clarify that for Mayor Henderson, please? Thank you.
The order, the placement of the consent agenda is essentially, it doesn't really matter. We've seen it done both ways. So at the beginning of a meeting or at the end of a meeting at different municipalities. So it's entirely up to council if they prefer to address those items first off or later in the meeting.
Your answer, do we want to discuss that further? Do we want that changed? Do we recommend the change, or are we fine with this?
My question relates to how would it work, because we're going through, in this dynamic, we'd be going through everything on the, in the meeting agenda. And only at the end are we saying, now who consents to stuff that we may have already discussed? So I'm curious to understand why, to me, it's, in terms of the governance process, it's, I'm curious why people would have it at the end of the agenda at all to be effective. The whole premise of this is to save us discussing things or that we don't feel we need to discuss, things that if I understand correctly, things that are on the agenda. So I would support moving that and encourage staff to consider that for our April 1st review.
Further comments? We want to.
If I may, Chair, I'm just offering it as you can provide, the staff can provide us with, they know I'll ask this question again, so maybe if you can answer it and anticipate me asking it, I won't do so if it's been answered.
Doug?
Thank you. Keep turning on your microphone after you're done talking. Looking at page 52, section 17 is the consent agenda. And item number 2 there says, should any council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and discuss it, or move to take a particular action, the council member shall, in advance of a motion being made to accept the consent agenda, identify to the chair the items they wish lifted. So I assume procedurally that would in advance of a motion being made to accept the consent agenda. So that'd be when you got to item 11 on the agenda, you would say, I want to pull topic 6 for separate discussion. And then you would move the rest of the consent agenda, and then you would discuss topic 6. Okay, I'm seeing head nodding from the corporate officers. Thank you. That's, yeah, from a clarity perspective, it's actually the way the regional district does recommendations from committee when they get to board. Only we do them up at the start of the board meeting, but it really doesn't matter because they're a separate block of business anyways. So thank you for the clarification.
I need my mic, yes. I love to play with that mic. Okay, and now we're moving on to 6.2, Council Remuneration Bylaw number 608, 2022 for review. Speaking to this? Oh, there we are. Thank Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Chair. The report speaks for itself, but I'm happy to ask any questions, answer any questions. This report is similar to one we brought in the last term of the previous, or the last year of the previous term. So UBC Council and Board guidelines suggest the best practice is to review it once per term, and they suggest the best practice is to do an independent task force as written in the report. However, there are other options to do this as well. We did do an independent task force last time, which just means a confidential grouping of community members that staff worked with. But I'm happy to answer any further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I'll make the, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry. Thank you. Discussion. You playing with that, right? Anybody? No? Well,
If I may, Chair,
Counselor
I
Thomas.
mean, the motion that is now put on the floor is that we provide direction to staff. So I'm not sure that this recommendation is actually in order to have been made and seconded. It's not direction to staff, it's asking for direction to staff. So just a process clarification. I don't know if Councillor Shepherd meant to move like option one as part of the discussion, but anyways, just a clarity question there.
probably my, is that clarification we need from corporate officer?
Sure.
Okay. Well, Counselor Shepherd. Counselor Shepherd? Director Roberts? Neck
Thank-
getting sore.
Thank you for the question. I'm here for the will of council, so if you'd like to move one of the motions, we're more than happy to do that. But yeah, if you have any questions about either of the options, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Okay, Counselor Shepherd.
Yeah, through the chair, to be more specific, I guess it would be option one. We are directing staff to compose a report or draft a report. It's my understanding. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm sorry, your motion is now option one, which is about the task force? Or is it option two, which is staff?
Yeah, it's actually to ask, my motion would be to ask staff to draft a report that council would review. So I wonder if council understands that, and is that the way it was done? Sorry if I could ask trouble staff to answer. Is that the way it was done in the last year of the last council?
Thank you for the question through the chair. At the last time that I brought this report forward, I went through each of the different options that you can choose to do a remuneration review, but that had been sort of a refresher. And then the council of the day had chosen to do sort of the best practice from the UBCM guidelines. So that's why the option is here today, just not to reinvent the wheel, but I'm happy to speak to each of the various options you can do for a remuneration review if that's what council chooses.
Comments?
Go ahead.
Mary Henderson.
Your
and
motion, so.
Okay, Counselor Shepherd?
Yeah, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Like if we're using the UBCM recommended method, then let's run with that.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Yes, Miss.
Are we having some confusion here between staff coming up with the review or us going to a committee for a review? Is that what we're struggling with? I'm not getting a sense that we're clear. Because that's the options that are being offered.
Okay,
right.
Thank you. Are we clear, council? Is this about this or?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I think to respond, before us was two things. One is the task force, and the other is for us to provide other direction. I am frankly, I like the idea of an independent group. I don't think it's appropriate to ask staff to come back independent with their own research saying, hey, we think this is what you should be paid or the future council should be paid. So I will, once we're dealt with the motions on the floor, be happy to propose that we have a independent task force be established and that they provide a report with the support of staff back to us. In other words, it's essentially it is option one, yes.
Yes, Counselor Rowe,
I'm sorry, can I just clarify that option 1 is on
the table.
the table, correct?
Correct. At this point,
That's
that's what
what
I heard.
was moved.
I had not heard a seconder
Okay,
for.
no,
any-
Can I make a motion to put, that we, I'm making a motion for option 1.
Okay.
The council or the staff go the task force route to accomplish the remuneration
Okay,
review.
okay, that's the motion. Second by Counselor Toth. Okay, any further discussion? Director Roberts.
Sorry to take up more time, Chair. I just wanted to make it crystal clear. So the options that the guidelines do provide are a consultant or a staff or the independent task force. Those are the only 3 options, or not doing one. So I just want to be clear on what the options are that you're considering. Thank you.
So, so for clarification, is that clear? So we're still, so we are in option 1, so that is appropriate. Okay, good. So all in favor? Oh,
So, sorry,
Mayor Henry?
I believe we have a motion on the floor, which is the one as printed under the recommendation. I don't think we
Yes.
voted on that, so.
Yes, we did.
Uh,
We-
Well,
No, we
I don't think we voted on it, so I
Well,
was,
but first and second, I was just going to ask for a vote.
No, that's. We didn't have a motion.
Okay,
Yes, we did. We did.
okay,
And Councilor Rowe finally did.
exactly.
Sorry, we did have the motion from Councilor Shepherd, seconded.
I'll defer to our.
What we heard was Councillor Shepherd discuss some ideas for a motion and move, I believe you mentioned the word moving that, but I did not see a seconder for that motion, Madam Chair. If you'd like to repeat the process, we could withdraw the current motion that's on the floor and Councillor Shepherd could make his motion, or we could simply vote on the motion that's on the floor now.
Correct. I believe that we're talking about the same thing here, in terms of what originally Councillor Shepherd put on, which was option number 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, if it's the right way to go, I'm happy to withdraw my original recommendation, my original motion.
For the
Um,
council to review.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. So you've withdrawn, okay. So we have a first and a seconder on, for this option number 1, and all in favor. Okay, thank you. Good, thank you. I think that completes this section, and now I will call for an adjournment. Counselor Toth, Counselor Rowe, and we are adjourned. And is there any questions from our audience? Hello.